Rice Fame Group supports the legacies of HBCUs. Hello, this is Lacey L. Rice Jr. of Rice Fame Group, welcoming you to Chat with HBCU Champions, Season 4, featuring Head Coach Yhann Plummer from Xavier University of Louisiana, whose women's track and field team won the 2025 Red River Athletic Conference outdoor title. So congratulations, Coach, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Hey, you've been doing some great things out there at Xavier.
We're a big team. You know, I have a lot of help. So yeah, we're trying to make it work each season and get better each season.
Okay. So this is is this your sixth straight championship?
Yeah, I think so. 6 to 8 straight championships.
Okay, and that run started when you were in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, and then continued when you moved over to the Red River Athletic Conference.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's amazing. That is amazing.
Thank you.
So that just proves, that you do have a great program there, because it's very hard, very difficult, to move to a new conference and then establish dominance right off the bat. So only terrific programs can do that.
Right. I also have a good supporting staff, and the athletic department, they support me 100%. So, it makes things a little bit easier when you have the support.
Okay. Well, this is, I believe, your first time with us. And so we want to know quite a bit more about you. So please tell us about your background, your athletic background, your coaching background. How did you get here?
I came here as a student athlete. I used to go to Southern University of New Orleans. Came in fall 2002. Ran there for 4 years, 10-time All-American, one-time national champion in 100 meters in 2006. And then after I graduated there, the coaching job came available. And, this was right after Katrina, so everybody was out in the city and, living elsewhere. And I was offered a job. I took it, and I've been coaching ever since. Coached there for 11, 12 seasons, and then I came over to Xavier in 2018 fall.
Okay. So how was things over there at Southern? How was that a highly successful program too?
Yes. Highly successful. Made it to nationals every year. Multiple All-Americans, multiple national champion, and it was a good time over there.
Okay. So our HBCUs doing it up down there in New Orleans.
Right.
Oh wow. And I know that's a hotbed down there, because I know Dillard has been producing as well. So that has to be an interesting. Yeah. That has to be a very interesting situation down there.
Not really. We just make it happen. They got a really good team, really good coaches. So their program is doing well also.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess for any athlete who wants to live in the New Orleans area, they have the choice.
They need to stop at Xavier first. Come see Xavier first, and then we go from there.
Right,
Right,
right, right. Because it is all about fit.
right.
Okay, okay. So, tell us a bit about your team. Who were some of your major athletes this year?
One local girl, her name is Jalen Mitchell. She's from the New Orleans area. She's doing very well. She's a team leader. She's running the fastest out of everybody else in the 100, 200, and even the 400. Um, uh, I have a couple of hurdles. Um, Brianna Clark, she's from Jamaica. She's running low 14s in the 100 hurdles. Senior Jade Harris from out of Houston, Texas. She's running 13s high in the in the hurdles. So we we're doing well. We have a few athletes to pick from. Recently graduated, the you could say arguably the best track and field athletes in the last few decades. Seth Alexander, he was a two-time national champion in the triple jump. He won indoor in 23, outdoor in 24, or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. So, we have a few people to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that I said that's amazing. That's
Right,
amazing. And
right,
because one of the unfortunate things is that all people really get to hear about in collegiate track and field is D1.
right.
And of course you had a big platform called ESPN
Yeah,
that broadcasted, and I said it just seems unfair for the other divisions, because other divisions have outstanding athletes as well. In fact, I was talking to some HBCU NCAA coaches, and one of the things that was mentioned was how dominant St. Aug used to be under Coach Williams.
mm,
And that was a program, it was a D2 program, the D1 programs was scared of. And yet most people probably didn't know anything about St. Aug because they didn't get the pub and exposure that their D1 counterparts got.
right.
And so, like I said, I do think it's unfair. I don't know what the solution is, um, but there has to be some way to work this out so that everyone can get the exposure that they deserve. Because, like you said, you have some tremendous athletes there,
Yeah,
and one of the top D2 athletes of all times was Carmelita Jeter,
yeah,
and people don't know that. And you also, like I said, you had all the people coming out of St. Aug, and then all these other HBCUs, David Oliver from Howard, and like I said, all these others. We got. I guess somebody has to figure something out somewhere.
right. I had a kid from St. Aug. He graduated last year or the year before. His
Mm-hmm.
name was Demoy Boyd. He
Mm-hmm.
came here after St. Aug and he did great for the program. So, St. Aug is a really, really good program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I said, you guys, with the All Americans, the national champions, and everything. What and I usually do talk to coaches about this during this program. I used to coach. I've coached from middle school to collegiate level.
right,
Um, Actually used to be an assistant commissioner with the Mid South Conference and was over track and field and cross country as my championships. And one thing that I used to tell high school coaches whenever I did recruiting clinics was that don't always try to push your athletes toward a D1 program, because your athlete, number one, he might not have the time or the standards to even go to specific programs. But then you have other divisions, you have other levels that might be more than willing to take your athlete. And if your athlete does well, if your athlete's a runner and he or she runs fast, somebody will find that athlete. If they can
Definitely.
jump high or
Right.
low, somebody will find that athlete.
Right. What I found over the years is that most of the kids, they really never heard about NAIA. So we really got to educate them on that, and all the other divisions that are out there. They just need exposure to it, so they know that it's available, and that's a choice for them. Because most of the kids that I recruit, one of the first questions is, "What division are you? Are you NCAA or what?" And most of them never heard about NAIA. So it's just about getting the word out there, let them know that they have other divisions that they could go to, and also be successful, doing whatever sport they're doing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then even academically, I guess Xavier of Louisiana could be considered one of those Ivy Leagues of the South schools.
Right. So in
Uh,
the top 3 in the country, or top 5 in the country for everything medical, chemistry, bio, pre-med, pharmacy, you know,
mhm,
yeah, one of the top schools. So if you come here, you definitely gonna get a good education. All you
mhm,
gotta do is just apply yourself and be consistent, and you get your degree that you could, move on with, and be successful in whatever career you choose.
mhm.
Yeah,
And the funny thing about Xavier, and I think it was your current AD, Pat Hendricks, who told me about this a few years ago.
yeah,
The atmosphere is different there. Uh, I think it was her who mentioned how at athletic events like volleyball or basketball events, whenever there are breaks, that's when students in the stands will break out laptops and working on homework or doing.
yes,
I've never seen that.
yes. We have students studying at track meets.
Yeah.
In between races, in between reps, on the bus when we're traveling, we're always studying, So the bottom line for the student athlete, priority one is education. So,
Mm-hmm.
we got to prioritize that too, and, show them that we support them doing that. So, yeah, that's true. People in the stands studying, people traveling, even on race day, between
Mm-hmm.
races, people got their laptops, their books, their tablets doing work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's another reason why there's more exposure needed
Right.
for the lower division. Because, like I said, that's not something you hear about anywhere, pretty much anywhere else. And so, um, I just that just uplifted me when thinking about student athletes and college students in general, and how dedicated groups are as far as their academics.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that Xavier produced more doctors than some of the top medical schools in the country.
Right.
Yeah, and so like I said, but how many other people know about that really need to know about that? Having Xavier as one of their top choices if they want to become a doctor, or someone in the medical field. That Xavier should be one of their top choices, if not their top choice.
Right. Right.
So
I definitely agree.
yeah. And we also know that Xavier is the only Catholic HBCU. So, has there been advantages for that?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Has there been advantages to Xavier being the only Catholic HBCU, in your opinion?
Um, Never really. No. Well, maybe. I'm not sure actually. Never really thought about it. But advantage as far as what?
Like resources, maybe students, because the Catholic Church does have a wide, well, it has an international reach.
Uh, Never really looked at that.
Hmm.
Um, Never really looked at that at all.
Okay, okay, yeah, because I mean, I know, quite a few students who have gone to various Catholic institutions like Notre Dame, Xavier up there in Ohio, and other places. Um, and I really, I guess I never really went there with them to find out if they went there because it's a Catholic school or what their affiliation, what their religious affiliation might be. We most people, I guess, do know like a BYU. Most of the students there are going to be Mormon
Oh,
or Church of the Latter Day Saints. I
yeah.
mean, not everybody, but most of them, because you also, I believe, if you're Mormon at BYU, you have to go on a mission
Oh, okay.
to matriculate. And
Wasn't aware of that. Wasn't aware of that. Yeah. Yeah, it's something to look into.
okay.
Something to look at. Never really thought about it like that before. Um, the student population each year, each school
Mm-hmm.
year is about 2,500 to 3,000, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, very big.
Yeah.
Oh, small, but big at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for HBCU that's a large number,
Yeah.
a large enrollment, and so you know that once again something that people probably don't know. You have this good size HBCU in New Orleans. Uh, you probably want to look at it
Yeah. Yeah.
when making your choices.
Right.
And so so tell us a bit about that, about the atmosphere down there being in New Orleans, because of course, like I said, you have I think three HBCUs directly in New Orleans. Then you have other HBCUs within that region, and then you also have PWIs down there.
Yeah.
So how is that overall atmosphere for a student or student athlete?
Well, at Xavier, like I said, the number one priority is education.
Mm-hmm.
So in athletics, we prioritize that over anything else.
Mm-hmm.
We set up study halls, we have counselors, we have tutors, and all that is mandatory. Study
Mm-hmm.
hall is mandatory. Depending on what team you talk to, up to 10 to 12 hours per week of mandatory study hall, even when we're traveling. Um, on the athletic part, we have great teams. We just added rowing to the department. We have soccer, baseball, softball, track, cross country, volleyball, and basketball, tennis, and each program you're doing very well as far as making it to championships, winning the conference, so on and so forth. Everybody supports everybody. You
Mhm.
know, if you need something, all you got to say, hey, I need help with this, and you got a bunch of people running to your aid and helping you out. On campus, it's the same thing. The professors, they work with the student athletes, not to give them any favors or anything, but they accommodate them. Let's say they have to travel. You're probably going to do a test early or when you come back or whatnot. So the support is real, and the support is enormous on campus, even from the administration side of campus.
Mhm.
We're getting the support. So it's just one big family. Everybody helping out everybody and everything. So
Mhm.
it's really good, especially for the student athletes to know that they have the support when they need it. They just need to take advantage of it and ask for it, because like they say, closed mouths don't get fed. So once we are aware that they need help in any way, we're gonna step up and provide it as best we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that and that's terrific, because that's one of the things that we talk about, being a difference between HBCUs and PWIs is the community.
Right. Right.
Uh, and I can say that because I've graduated from both,
Right.
and I know how it felt. Yeah, I had community at my PWIs within my program, but not the general campus.
Gotcha.
At Kentucky State University, I knew pretty much most of the people on campus. I knew all the leaders. I was a student leader,
Yeah.
and it was just totally different. Even going to the PWIs, didn't have the opportunities for leadership that I had at the HBCU. And actually, I went to Kentucky State back in the early to mid '90s. And when I used to recruit, I was recruiting students even as a student. And that's one of the things I used to tell a lot of students who I would recruit. Hey, if you want to become a leader, if you want to develop your leadership skills, go to Kentucky State. Don't go to one of these PWIs in the state, because there's a greater chance if you go to one of them, you won't be able to develop your leadership skills. At
Right.
Kentucky State, you'll be given those opportunities. And so, but also, like I said, pretty much everybody knowing each other. Even today, we have conversations as alumni, and somebody brings up somebody's name, you know who they're talking about.
Yeah.
so, and then like I said, what you said about how the professors work with your student athletes, and about how the other athletic programs also help support each other. That's a goal for most athletic programs, I believe, and not all of them achieve that.
Right. Right. That makes the difference between winning and losing. You
Hmm.
know, the support is tremendous here. So we basically have no excuse not to succeed, not to succeed. So that's that's what I would consider the difference with most places that I know of.
Hmm.
Is just the support from especially the administration side of stuff. I've worked other places. I've heard other stories where the teams don't get no support at all, and then they're expected to perform at a high level. You know, it's not going to work without the support. It takes a village, like they say, and everybody working together will definitely you will definitely see the difference. You
Hmm.
definitely see the improvement, and then eventually, the successes will come behind that.
Hmm. And that's funny. That's because you mentioned the support from the top down.
Yeah.
And I know programs where that doesn't have, or where the administration, almost sabotage athletics, cutting every year, and cutting funding and everything, and then telling the coaches they better win. And it's like, what?
Yeah, you're right. But the expectation is always to win, but if we don't have the stuff in place to enable that, then it's not going to happen.
Right.
It can, but it will be a lot harder, a lot more stressful on everybody.
Yeah, because in fact, one institution I remember vividly, the president cut all of the recruiting budget for the football team.
Okay.
And then wondered why the team didn't win any games that year. And they had and like I said, I'm not gonna mention any names, but that particular program had nationally known head coach. But then the president sabotages him, and the worst thing about that was that early in the season, that team played some of the top teams in the country for their division, and I think even on Division I level. And they actually had large leads in that game, but they ended up losing by a few points because, as the head coach told me, he just didn't have the depth, and they got worn down.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what could this season have been for that team if even if they had half the money that they were supposed to get, And so I know those type of things happen, and because it wasn't just one president who did things like that. It was, it's like, man, hearing what you guys have at Xavier, I don't see why a student athlete would not want to be there. Right. Why they might choose somewhere else.
Right. Most of the time is preference of division, and everybody want to be an NCAA athlete, which is just cool. Don't knock that at all. You got to do what's best for you. But if they don't know the other side or what's out there for them, then they won't be able to explore it. And we're very competitive too. Other divisions are very competitive too. So like I said earlier, just need to get the word out there, educate everybody on each division, and then you choose best. What's the word I'm looking for? What suits you best? But yeah, it's just all about exposure and getting the word out there that other divisions are available.
Right. So, one of the things that always impressed me about the NAIA was their Champions of Character Awards.
Yeah.
I always thought that was unique and special. In fact, I remember one year, cross country meet, when I was, like I said, the assistant commissioner in the Mid-South. We had one of the top cross country runners in the country, female.
What school was that?
That was, you would ask me that.
You were a part of the NAIA?
Yeah, it was NAIA. It was, where was it? Lindsey Wilson. It was Lindsey Wilson.
Yeah, I was about to say Milligan. I don't know if Milligan is in the Midwest or Mid-South.
Yeah, it was Lindsey Wilson years ago, probably about that was a little over 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And they had this one young lady, she was phenomenal. And I mean, she was killing everybody in that race. I mean, she couldn't even see second place.
Mm.
That's how far out. But unfortunately, they had to do a couple loops. After the first loop, there was a gate that somebody was supposed to close. Well, nobody closed the gate, and she ran through. And one of the opposing coaches saw it, and he ran and closed the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his runners happened to be 2 and 3, so they, made the turn. They came in first and second in the race. She miraculously came in third.
Yeah.
So, but those two young ladies, I mean, they fought and fought and fought to try to make her the champion. They were like, "No, we don't deserve this."
Yeah.
She was killing us.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, because of the rules, we couldn't do that. But that exemplified champions of character to me right there.
Right. Definitely.
And so, and one of those young ladies is still a friend of mine on Facebook.
Yeah.
But that's to me is an example of what makes the NAIA special. And so, um, is that something that you highlight in your program as well, to have student athletes to qualify for that, especially because that's also not only is a conference award, it's also a national award.
Yeah. Yeah. We have somebody each year, at least. We nominate people each year, and we share their stories. And I think the last one we had was last season. Her name was Fajeen Bell. She's a bio pre-med major. I think she's in Florida right now, applying to med school, I think. So yeah, we do have those, and we support them 100% each time to share the stories and get the stories out there so they could be recognized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and are your athletes or the not just your athletes but the Xavier athletes, are they as competitive for that as they are, let's say, on the competition fields?
Uh, yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. I was getting a call. Put my phone on do not disturb.
That happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why I had to put mine on do not disturb
I forgot.
during this, because I know I'll probably get that call myself. So
Right.
what I was asking was, are the athletes at Xavier as competitive, uh, self-competitive for those champions of character awards as they are for competition awards on the playing field?
Um, Unconsciously, maybe. Nobody's thinking about that when you pull up to practice.
Mm-hmm.
You're just trying to work hard and get the workout done, and do your best at each turn. But I wouldn't say they thought about it and say, hey, I'm going to compete with so and so today because I deserve this award more or whatnot. No, I don't think they compete consciously for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So that's just something that they just have to live
Yeah,
on a
you know,
daily.
it's day in, day out, you know, how you carry yourself and you know, how you support each other and look out for each other and stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't think nobody really got up and say, "Hey, I want to be, you know, I want to win that award this year, so I'm gonna do this." You know, it's just being themselves and, you
Hmm.
know, being as helpful and encouraging as possible. They can be,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So, um, so I know, like I said, there are some other differences between NAIA and NCAA. In fact, around that time that I was doing clinics, I was shocked because NAIA actually had more track and field scholarship allotments than NCAA did, or at least NCAA on comparative levels.
hmm
Um, and so that might be something else that student athletes need to consider when applying. Because I know some programs that did not allocate that many, but they still were able to package up athletes to come and compete. Like I said, I coached on the middle school and high school level, and most of our athletes ended up at an NAIA program.
yeah,
Well, partly because the head coach was an alum of our high school. But in fact, I used to joke about it all the time and say, "Hey, so and so is the uh, North Hardin High School of the southeast of Kentucky,"
hmm
and but it was what it was. A lot of our student athletes at the time, they wouldn't be competitive on the D1 major level or anything like that. But for that conference and what he was trying to build, because he actually built that program,
yeah,
um, what he was trying to do in building that program, those student athletes fit better there.
right,
And then on top of that, they were also NCCAA, and they produced quite a few national championships in the NCCAA.
right,
And so, like I said, it's just going back to what we said earlier. A lot of that is about fit, about where can I succeed as a student athlete, and also where can I succeed campus wise. Do I like
right,
this area and everything else?
right.
So, so have you ever had that situation where, a student athlete has come down there and they just did not like New Orleans?
No, no, never had that. All of my visits, they went well, very well.
Hmm.
You know, a few times they end up going somewhere else because of the funds.
Hmm.
But you know, everybody I spoke with, everybody I met with, you know, parents and athletes, they love New Orleans, they love campus, you
Hmm.
know, they love what we have to offer. But you know, it all boils down to the financials most of the time. You know,
Hmm.
so that's one of the hiccups. Other than most kids, three things:
Hmm.
people want to stay close to home, or you know, the finances ain't there, or you know, most of them want to go to D1 schools. But you
Hmm.
know, those are the three hiccups. But 75, 80% of the time, you know, I get who I went after,
Hmm.
and they love the surrounding, they love campus, they love what we have to offer. So
Hmm.
not much of those problems.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I said that's I see a lot of wins and possibilities, just being in that area, and how one is able to use that to his or her advantage as a coach.
Yeah.
And you know, it, I just imagine, it's just a great atmosphere altogether.
Right.
And so, versus, being in other places where you might be out unless you just absolutely love being out in an absolute remote area.
Yeah.
With some people like that,
Yeah.
you know.
They like it. Peaceful, far from everybody else.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm And um, tell us about what you look for in recruits.
So when I go recruiting, I recruit based on the needs of the team.
hmm
So if I need a distant runner, or the team need a distant runner, or a few distant runners, that's what we recruit.
hmm
We recruit what we need to build, to make us stronger, and for us to win. First, when I talk to a recruit, the GPA test scores is
hmm
the first conversation, because
hmm
if you can't get into the school, then it don't make sense.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the first conversation, and then we talk about the events and times, and where they at now, what they're doing now, and um, where what's the end goal for the season. And
hmm
we try to work with them based on their numbers and their grades and stuff. And if everything lines up with the requirements for Xavier, then we move forward. So the number one conversation is about your grades,
hmm
about your events, and eventually where you want to be. And that's pretty much the conversation. We talk about that. And if it's a good fit, we move forward. If everybody's on board, then we
hmm
sign them.
hmm
Yeah.
and I remember a few decades ago, I was talking to a collegiate head coach, and I think he's from originally Louisiana, and we were talking about recruiting and what his priorities were.
Mhm.
And so, of course, at that particular time, like I said, I was a high school, middle school coach at that time. So I'm hearing about California, Texas, Florida, every now and then Ohio. And so I'm thinking, and okay, these are the areas, these are the states with the fastest kids. And he had to enlighten me. He's like, no, you look at Louisiana.
Right.
He's like, you got some bangers in Louisiana, and that was his primarily recruiting focus was with Louisiana.
Yeah.
And he did very well. He produced quite a few All-Americans. Outdoor, that particular program hasn't produced another All-American since he left.
Mm.
So, you
Yeah.
know, and so with you being down there in Louisiana, do you is that still the case that you really don't have to go that far? And plus, you're surrounded by other states that have fast athletes and great track and field athletes.
Yeah, we really don't have to go far. We don't have to. All we have to just look maybe 20 minutes down the street, and
hmm
we can find good athletes, great athletes. That'll be beneficial for us in the program.
hmm
So, yeah, to answer your question, no, we don't have to go too far, and we could stay right here and build a great team, because the talent is here. It's just the student athletes and their parents and their preference and what they can afford.
hmm
But most of the kids that we have now, they're between Texas and Georgia. A few from California. Long Beach Poly got a really good program
hmm
that we try to get every year.
hmm
But between Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, um, and California, that's where most of our kids are from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you also recruit internationally or?
Yes. So we have a couple of kids from the islands, from Jamaica, on the team,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing very, very well for the team. So yes, we do recruit internationals, and but again, everybody got to qualify. Everybody got to meet the standards, and
Mm-hmm.
plus they have to be running some good times. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so we recruit all over. Wherever the talent is, we're gonna be there. It's just you know if it's feasible for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because well, you mentioned travel, you mentioned recruiting trips, and or student athletes coming to your campus,
Yeah.
and that's something you got to pretty much take care of. For most of them versus them coming out of pocket all the time.
Well, we when I go to them, it's fine. You
Mm-hmm.
know, them coming to us, we're not allowed to pay for everything. We're allowed to pay for meals and we're allowed to pay for lodging. As
Mm-hmm.
far as the travel, they gotta figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that might excuse me. And I haven't looked at the rules in quite a while. I'm just part of it. I'm going off the top of my head. I know back when I was with the NCAA, I was with the major program,
Hmm.
the first at first, and then I ended up at a D3. But at that major program, I remember you had the two different types of recruiting visits, and student athletes were allowed so many of the of one kind versus unlimited on the other type. And so that, and I said that's where I was basing some of my assumptions on
Hmm.
with that. So, but thank you for telling us that, and because that is important for quite a few people, and I mean it's still important for those student athletes who are closer to you versus having to come a long distance.
Right.
So yeah. So excuse me.
No problem.
So as far as like facilities and everything, what what are your facilities like down there?
So we don't have a track on campus. We practice in the fall we practice at Harrell Park in New
Mm-hmm.
Orleans, and then in the spring we practice at Todd Montgomery in the stadium,
Mm-hmm.
in the City Park area.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else we have on campus, weight room, stuff like that. But as far as an actual track, we use those two facilities, and they're about 5 to 8 minutes, depending on traffic, depending on time of day, from
Mm-hmm.
campus, and we provide transportation back and forward. So I at least could get to practice on time and get back to class on time and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we work that. Hopefully, sooner than later, we could get something on campus where we don't have to travel too far.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But going back to one of the guys who I admire in the sport, Coach Williams. I remember St. Aug didn't have a track for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they ended up getting a track when he was the AD,
Mm.
but they went a long time without having a track,
Yeah.
and was
Most of the
still winning.
Yeah, most of the schools, well, nobody really have a track in New Orleans.
Oh,
And we're looking at UNO, Tulane, Xavier, Loyola, Suno, and Dillard. So that's what 5 or 6, maybe 7. Nobody have a track of their own. I know Tulane, um, a few years ago, they had a track, but they turned that into a football facility, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I know they had a track. They don't have it no more. I don't know what that space is used for now.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, see that's something I definitely did not know. I would have thought that at least uh, UNO well, you said two lanes was discontinued, but
Yeah.
I would have
No, they
thought
have a
that
track program. They
right,
they
right.
have a track program. They just don't have a track. Because I remember back in my Sooner days, I competed at a track meet on their campus. So I know they had a
Hmm.
track at some point.
Hmm. Yeah, that wow. I said I had absolutely no idea that none of those programs have a track. Because
Yeah.
that was going to be probably one of my questions. Would have been, well, can y'all practice at such and such? But you already answered that. So
Yeah. Yeah. We practice there, and most of the time it's crowded. Especially on the practice track at City Park, it's crowded because you got everybody walking their dogs and you know high schools and everybody else out there. So it can get hectic at times, but we make it work.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So when you just mentioned high school, do many of the high schools have tracks?
No. Let me see. Maybe uh, I know there's a school in Chalmette. They have a track. There's a school, um, East Jeff. They have a track. Not sure about West Jeff, but I know there's some tracks on the West Bank side. Maybe Edna Carr got a track, but
Okay,
not a whole lot. Not a whole lot at all.
okay. Wow, that that's amazing.
Yeah,
That is amazing. I definitely did not know that.
yeah, yeah. We make it work though.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
stick to the mission and just make it happen.
Okay. Okay. Hey, like I said, Coach Williams made it work in St. Aug. Several other coaches, they've been able to be successful without having tracks on their campuses.
Yeah,
Actually, that program I told you about, where a lot of my student athletes went, they didn't have. Do they have a track? I think they were building a track a couple years ago, but they had to practice at a local high school.
yeah,
And so, you know, um, I, I guess that is something I really didn't think about as much as I probably should have. You know, Especially being an assistant commissioner. Um, because we always had to have we always had our championships at one of our campuses.
hmm
Uh, and the question was whether or not that campus, whether or not we had to have the meet done before nightfall or not, because some of the campuses, some of the tracks did not have lights.
right. That's a hazard.
Yeah, and then also, and I should have known, because the first year that I was over track and field, our championship was that actually the defending national champion that year. They didn't have their own track.
Right.
They had to go down the street to another facility, and that's where they actually hosted the conference championship that year. Nice facility, but it was municipal.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. So okay, so a lot of things are starting to make sense now.
Yeah. 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 It's not easy, but we make it work.
Right.
Make it
Because
work.
and tracks are not cheap. You
Right.
know, it costs quite a bit to build them, and then if you're going to build them right, you got to have the stands and everything else that goes with that, and then you have to maintain that track, and even the field part, for the throws, the jumps, and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, that costs a lot of money.
Yeah. It's very costly.
Yeah. So yeah, why not use somebody else's if if they have what you need?
Right. Like I said, we make it work, man. Just gotta know what we're working for and just work towards it.
Right, right. Well, so tell us a bit about your conference. What's the Red River Athletic Conference like?
Um, we have about 6 or 7 schools right now, doing track and cross country. Um, it's competition level. It's fine, I guess. We'll probably need more schools in the conference to make it very competitive. But right now, it's only a few schools um, producing um, good athletes, and moving on from conference to nationals. I would really like to see more schools enter the conference, and so we could get a good field of athletes where championships could be competitive as other conferences. Um, the Red River is mainly Texas schools.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Old Lady of the Lake, Houston Tillotson used to be in there, Jarvis Christian, Houston Victoria, uh, Southwest. I think Southwest is in New Mexico somewhere, and then Texarkana. Um, a lot of Texas schools. I don't remember them off the top of my head right now, but um, on the track and field cross country side, I would like to see more schools entering and more schools participating in the championship. So we could have a really good student athlete experience, championship experience. But it's going good so far.
Okay.
Going good. This is what, tier number 4,
Mm-hmm.
and we're doing great.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I know that the Red River Athletic Conference is about to lose some members. Paul Quinn is moving to the HBCU Athletic Conference,
Yeah.
and then this is your final year
Yeah.
in the Red River Athletic Conference. You're moving over to the Southern States Athletic Conference,
Yeah.
and now this year you will be able to compete in indoor track and field, won't you, as an affiliate member?
Right.
Okay, okay. So there's already advantages for your program uh, immediately, and then not 25, 26, but starting 26,
Right.
27 is when
Yeah.
the entire program moves over.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And that conference, it's more schools,
Mm-hmm.
better competition. So we're gonna have to step our game up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're ready for it.
Okay.
We'll be right there in the mix.
Okay. Now, how the travel outlook? How is the difference between the two conferences?
Um, Pretty much the same. The season is gonna go the same. We host the Red River Championships,
Mm-hmm.
so everybody got to come to us. We used to go to San Antonio. I think we went there 3 or 4 years in a row, and
Mm-hmm.
well, 3 years, and they're coming to us now. So as far as travel, we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to spend much. As far as the championship goes, just pay for the stadium, um, the officials and the timers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the southern states, we will be traveling to a neutral location, if I remember
Mm-hmm.
correctly. Not sure where that is, or I'm not remembering where that is, but it's pretty much just like a regular track meet. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, and the thing is, you mentioned that the Red River is primarily Texas. And if you're a person who's never been to Texas and never had to drive through Texas, you probably don't have an idea about how big Texas really is.
Right.
And I lived in Texas briefly in 21.
Yeah.
And I drove from Kentucky. I drove from the middle, pretty much the middle Kentucky or close to Louisville, all the way down to Corpus Christi.
Mm.
And I mean, that was a very long drive. And the funny part about it was, I think I spent more time driving in Texas than I did from Kentucky to Texas border.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very big state, you know. Very big
Yeah.
state.
And so, because with the southern states, you'll be over in Alabama and
Georgia.
Georgia. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think some part of Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and is it South or North Carolina? I'm not sure. But
Okay,
the teams are spread out all over the place.
okay. But North Carolina would be the furthest
Yeah.
if there's schools out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, but yeah, so hopefully you'll be able to carry that streak on
Definitely.
through.
Definitely. Life and William Carey ain't nothing to play with, but you know we be ready for them. We're
Right.
getting ready, and there's a few of the schools in the conference that you know that they're very competitive. So you know we're looking forward to it. We welcome all challenges, and we're gonna step up to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this has been a very enlightening chat
Yes,
today. I said several things that I did not consider because I knew that you had hosted the conference meet, but I didn't know that you didn't have your own track.
no, we host at Todd Gummer Stadium in City Park. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we host, and that's where we practice in the spring. So
Mm-hmm.
you know the relationship between us and the management is very good. So we could get the track anytime. We just need to
Mm-hmm.
schedule it ahead of time. But that's where we host. So we're gonna host again in April 26th. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be April 24th to 25th,
Mm-hmm.
26th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, that we'll definitely have to keep an eye on and see if you can carry that through this year and dominate again. And
Well, we definitely will.
okay,
Definitely will. You know that's the goal, and that's what we're working towards.
okay, okay. Well, Coach, as we get prepared to wind down, um, the first thing that well, I almost forgot. Um, and your AD can tell you I usually always ask this question, and that is, and it's an important phenomenon that has happened over the last decade or so, because there are a lot of student athletes who, uh, unfortunately, have decided to call it quits on life, and I've in my experience, I've seen that more at colleges and universities with student athletes than I've seen with the general population. Even though I'm pretty sure that has to be high as well. So, how do you deal with the mental health aspect of coaching your athletes?
Um, like I said, the support is real here. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's no shortage of support, and we just gotta basically just checking on each other. You know, Hey, what's up? How you doing today? It's not a bad thing. It goes a long way, showing that you care and your support for each other is there. It really helped to mitigate all of that, at least some of it. And whatever, if I have a situation that I recognize and I see that I don't have what it takes to help them, I will refer them to somebody that can. And we have mental health support here on campus. Actually, we have people on the second floor in this building that I'm sitting in right now that we could refer them to. And, we have counselors, mental health counselors that we partner with through Oshner, where they can get the help they need. Recognizing it and, somebody asking for help is a different battle. But when you do, the support and, just checking in every once in a while will make a big difference. So that's what we practice here, and we will continue to do and help each other as much as we can.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
No problem.
Now, let's say as we prepare to wind down, this is also the part where we ask you about your mentors. Who are some of the most important people who helped you on your coaching journey?
So I definitely say my high school coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer with us. His name is Edward Hector. He's been a mentor ever since high school. I think he started coaching me around 98, around 98. And he's been a part of my life ever since. Like I say, he's not here with us, wish he was, but I would say my high school coach.
Okay. And before we do get to the very last segment, tell us a bit about your coaching staff, because you mentioned having a large staff. Tell us a bit about your coaching staff there.
My coaching style or my coaching staff?
Oh, staff. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Staff.
so I have one assistant. His name is Andrew Kidd, former athlete also. As a matter of fact, he went to Union, Kentucky for his college days. He coaches the hurdles, the jumps, and the throws. And he's been with me going on 3-4 years now, doing a very good job. I have grad assistants. I have volunteer coaches, Derek and Kwame. They help out whatever we need, and they're always ready to step up to the plate and do what they need to do to get the team on track and support the team as best they can. So that's pretty much my staff, but we're doing good. We're doing good. Recruiting is going good, and they help with that a lot.
Okay. Also, we're coming to our last segment.
Okay.
And this is not a question, but this is an opportunity for you to shout out anybody who you want to shout out.
Anybody.
Any and everybody.
Okay. Anybody in track and field, or what we're looking at?
Whoever you want to give shout outs to.
The list will be too long, but a few important people. My coaching staff, the people in athletics, the administration at Xavier, my wife, my athletes also. They're important too. They're the one who are doing the work. And the support staff, from the trainers to the people who bring the stuff to us, people who prepare our meals, and everybody is important. Everybody plays a part. So yeah, those are my few, but the list goes on and on. But yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's a holistic list that you gave us right there.
Yeah, everybody's important. Everybody's important. From even the people that clean the building.
Right.
They're important. They help. Might not see it, but they help.
Mm-hmm. But I think the most important person you said that I guess you better not have forgotten was your wife.
Right. I can't do that. Can't do that. She's a big support. She's my main supporter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Coach, and we definitely want to thank you for stopping by and chatting with us today. We're very glad that we had you, and once again, you enlightened me at least on quite a few different things, and I really appreciate that because knowledge, especially of a sport that a person loves, is always important. It's very important to me. So I really thank you for a lot of the things that you shared today.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Anytime.
Okay. And I definitely want to thank you, our viewing audience, for stopping by and watching this episode of Chat with HBCU Champions. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. We ask that you do like, follow, and share the video. We also ask that you continue to support us and continue to tune in as we bring you the best in HBCU athletics. Not only are these champions from HBCUs, but they're also champions and recognized coaches on the national level. So we definitely want to keep you abreast and hope that you will help support our HBCUs across the land. And with this, we do want to wish everyone a blessed day.
Now I'm talking about young shakes. Chicago to represent. Jesse James. And this for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. Dog, I ain't never been a jumpin'. If he thinking I'm a jump, watch him get his head up. For my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. Dog, I ain't never been a jumpin'. If he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head up. For my city. Cause I feel like I love her so much, like I owe her so much for supplying her touch. I will always respect her, I will never neglect her. That you hear her naming like every one of my records. No, I'm not stunting, ain't no future in your frontin', right? Gotta get this money, watch me get it all night. Planet flying top flight, higher than space stations. That's why I gotta grind, cause I need it and I hate waiting.